Hello everyone, here are my quick thoughts on the third and final installment in the Fear Street trilogy, Fear Street 1666. Fear Street 1666 takes place right after the events of Part 2. As Dina reunites the severed hand and body of Sarah Fear is forced to relive the events that caused all of this chaos to take place back in 1666, forcibly witnessing every event through the eyes and the body of Sarah Fear. Dina has to figure out what caused the curse and how to end it once and for all in her own timeline. So I'm going to give my quick thoughts on this particular installment as well as the previous two, just to give an overall feeling of how it played out for me. The first thing I loved about this movie is the setting. I'm a big fan of period piece horror. I love the movie The Witch. And I don't really see many directors or writers kind of play with it, which is weird because there's so much to work with. It gave off more of a creepy atmosphere as opposed to the other two installments. Granted, there were some moments in the other two installments that kind of got a little on edge, but this one was extremely unsettling at times. I think a lot of that had to do with the cinematography. On top of that, it gave more of this kind of dingy, dirty, old feel, which if you're going to do a period piece, that's kind of what you have to do. You have to make the audience feel as if they're in the mindset. I notice American Horror Story attempts to do this when they set each season in a different setting. And sometimes it can work, but a lot of times it just comes off more like a school play. As opposed to this one, it felt more like an actual genuine transition, like you're actually in a different time period. And I'm very much appreciated. The acting range got a lot bigger. All throughout the films, they somewhat range from really, really good to fairly decent. I think the actress who played Dina, in all of the installments, shows a good amount of range. I think that her approach for each different version of the story has more appeal to it. You get to see her as the scorned lover, you get to see her as the sister, the calculated planner, and you see her in this one as the flawed victim who merely just wants to exist. And very few actors could actually pull off that much of a range while staying true to the original core of the written character. So that is a huge plus in my book. I was surprised with the twists in this film. Looking back, it makes more sense of the trilogy after watching the third one. So it makes a better rewatchability, which I very much appreciate. There was a lot of dark themes, as there are in all of these movies, but this one, it was more uncomfortably dark. There's only two things that I really kind of have to bring up. It does not spoil the movie or ruin anything about the plot. However, the first part, I will say as a praise, is the fact that it felt like a double feature, but not in a bad way where it seems jarring in a transition. It felt more like the first half was its own separate film, in a good way, and then the second half was continuing from the previous parts. Here is the only major problem with the movie: the orchestrator of everything. It's not that the twist was not justified, was not interesting, and was not surprising. It was. But it's the fact that the overall plan, the overall master plan of everything, it seems convoluted. It felt as though when they wrote the script, they had beginning, the middle, but they didn't really know a good payoff. In some ways that's okay, but in other ways that's kind of irritating. Those of you who have read R.L. Stine's, very much similar to Stephen King, he is more known for writing really well placed settings, characters, themes, morality, all of that junk. But his endings always feel kind of rushed. And Stephen King's are much more super jarring than they would be to any other good writer. It kind of came off with that to a point, but it ended up working itself out in the end. And it tied up pretty much every loose end and left for a very, very satisfying conclusion. So overall, what are my thoughts on the entire Fear Street trilogy? Ultimately, they were extremely satisfying. I enjoyed all three of them. In fact, I could see this saga continuing, maybe making this an annual event on Netflix. Say every October or sometime around, summer or whatever. that they release a movie event in the Fear Street universe. Granted, they don't have to follow the same timeline or the same plot. They left enough of a mythos that they could just build off of it. And they left enough hints that they could potentially have sequels. I really enjoyed that each film, while being cohesive as one story narrative, also allowed for each style of horror to stand on its own. The first one is a whodunit horror, the second one is a slasher film, and the third one is a period piece horror film. They each have their own merits. They each have their own positive and negative qualities. More positive than negative. But regardless of that, it allows for people to see a new perspective of horror by paying tribute to the previous aspects of horror already cemented in legacy throughout film. I honestly feel that anyone that genuinely is open to the idea of horror films should give these a watch. I could see these films being a great movie marathon, just putting them on and watching them back to back. And I think you'd be overall satisfied because you'd get a little bit of everything. It's refreshing to see something original and creative in horror. That may seem like I'm running down a lot of newer directors in the film industry. Most horror films recently, or for a long time, have been either remakes, reimaginings, reintroductions, and the ones that do their own thing, like say The Witch or Babadook, are so different that no one is used to. But these are the kind of films that an older fan like myself can enjoy, and a newer fan can be introduced to horror. And that is a very rare thing to find nowadays. So overall, I very much enjoyed myself watching all three of these, and I highly recommend them to anyone who hasn't seen them. That's just my opinion. What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you next time.